Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of race number 6 of Season 61 of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series, as we are here under the lights at Burnt Screwdriver Raceway, the third time that they take to this 2.66 mile super speedway. Now, more than halfway through the regular season, it's the home stretch towards the playoffs, and we're going to see who might be the next one to take a step towards the postseason. I'm Seth Cole, being joined here tonight alongside of Andrew Miller. And Andrew, first time here in the booth this season, getting to see these drivers moving over to the Aero 88 cars. You yourself actually took to the track for a couple of laps in practice. These drivers have been clean the last couple of weeks. We've seen green flag pit stops. But what happens here tonight with the pressure continuing to ramp up, getting closer to the postseason?
Oh man, every race is always such a wild card with this series, and yeah, having run some laps in this mod, the way that it compares to the NCTS 09 that these guys were running last season is night and day. The difference as far as the hitbox, and what really took me aback was the size of the cars. Like, these things felt tiny in comparison to the trucks. So I think that's what's kind of, I feel like maybe that's what has allowed these guys to maybe settle down a little bit. They're not maybe being quite as aggressive with the pushing, but at the same time, that has led to some kind of harder checkups going into these corners because the guys are trying to leave maybe that little bit more space. So, but also, as you said, it was pretty darn clean and green for a couple of races here. So I don't know what to expect here. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I'm just like these guys. I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants here, but it's going to be a great show. These guys know what they're doing on this super speedway, and we're going to have a lot of fun.
And we only saw one caution last week. That led to fuel strategy in the closing stages. Grant Wesley was able to come around when Terry Bombard and JT Mayhew ran out of fuel on the final lap to be able to capture his first win on the season. Becomes the 5th different driver to go to victory lane, and it was here 2 weeks ago at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway that we ended up seeing our first round of green flag pit stops here in Season 61. Bob Seminara becomes the 6th different pole sitter via the random qualifying draw. He'll be leading us to green over the defending champion, Richard Martin. You got Brian Schilling and John Godfrey in row 2. Bobby Farrell, Bob Dixon, row 3. Chuck McClure and Alan Martin, along with Robbie Nice and Kelly Causey, going to be the top 10. We've got 37 drivers that are going to take the green flag here tonight. So again, much like we've said all season long, a lot of points on the table, a lot of positioning in the standings can be gained and or lost. And after tonight, there will only be 2 more races left in the regular season until we determine the drivers that will battle for the playoffs, whether top 12 in points or inside the top 20 with a win. Next chapter ready to be written as Seminara takes the green flag here tonight. Seminara stays to the inside line here off of turn 2. This is normal for what we usually see here at BSR. If we were at Talladega, he would have very quickly jumped up to that middle line, but the inside line seems to have a little bit more momentum here at this particular racetrack. The middle line and the outside line can get momentum, but you have to have it very well organized and you have to stay committed. If it's 1 or 2 cars jump out of line, momentum is shot for each respective lane.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to really be on the bumper here coming off of there for the outside lane. This track, the inside lane still pushes up a little bit, just like at Talladega, but not quite as severely. And then that's where that inside lane gets that little bit more of an advantage, as you said. And I think that's why Seminara's staying down there. As we got one going up to the far outside there, probably just looking to drop back. But that's a 0-0 of Buckshot. But right now, hopefully everyone's going to be minding their P's and Q's here. But they've run enough races now. I think they have a feel for this mod. They have a feel for where the hitbox is, how these things drive. Even though the setup is the same, there's still going to be those subtle little differences. There's a dart up to the outside there for Chuck McClure. But I think at this point now, these guys are going to be a little more comfortable as far as their the moves that they're going to be making. And I think we're starting to see that a little bit already. A lot of lane shifting.
A lot of mirror driving going on here in the first couple laps of this race. Seminara and Schilling jumping up there to the middle in front of Chuck McClure. Richard Martin decided to swap from the middle lane down to the bottom behind Bobby Farrell. Looks like that middle line starting to gain some momentum, surging ahead down this back straightaway. Now, talking about the drivers that are trying to position themselves for a spot in the playoffs this season, obviously Greg Palmer, Tim Nofsker, Josh Metallic, Grant Wesley, via victories, they are in good positioning as long as they stay in the top 20 in points. They know they'll be battling for the championship. As a matter of fact, we heard last week when we talked with Grant Wesley in Victory Lane, he didn't expect to be here tonight, but he was able to make it, so not going to find himself in that much of a deficit heading into next week's race, or I should say the next event. We'll get to that in a moment, as we do have an off week coming up for these drivers. But you've got obviously other drivers that may not be able to get a checkered flag with the expedited regular season we have that are looking to point their way in. Mark Paglia, second in points. JT Mayhew up 5 spots last week to 4th. And even our race leader, Bob Seminara, comes into this race 5th in points. He gained 7 spots in the standings last week. So a lot of drivers would love to be able to go into race 7 if possible, but especially race 8, locked into the playoffs. As we got a wreck in the back, somebody was into the wall. I think that might have been Brian Rawson bouncing off the wall there in the tri-oval. He came back into traffic and the caution is out.
So Sullins in there, Bob Sires involved. Josh Metallic is facing the wrong direction. Yeah, that looked like possibly just a bad bump there coming off the corner. I think you said Rossi got squirrely, and a bunch of guys going around. Didn't see anything too severe as far as any hits go. So hopefully no one's going to be too worse for wear from that.
Yeah, to your point, doesn't look like any visible damage really to any of these drivers. Looks like a trio of them went for a spin through the infield grass. Might have had what is it that Garland Oak says? Safely wrecking? I think that's what we had right there. The new paint scheme there for Brian Rawson, as he was the first car I saw out of shape. That was over in the tri-oval, which we know usually is about the loosest area of the racetrack for the back end of the car, the most unsettling area. You're not on a straightaway, but you're not necessarily in a corner either. And let's see if the 6 just got out of shape or maybe got a bad bump. You talked about the checkups. The checkups can take place in the tri-oval just as much as they can at the entry of a corner.
It looks like he may have actually bumper grabbed off of Greg Palmer's 22, and then that's what put him up into the wall and just getting sideways.
38 caught some air there.
Yeah, a few guys getting some air. I think that was the 31 that went spinning through the infield with Bernie Mobbs. Cy Jones also. Yeah, I'm not seeing too many nasty hits there. I think that all these guys should be okay with a fresh set of tires.
Ken Roberts involved in it. Looked like Glenn Harris got a piece. Wiley Coate was the one that kind of popped the 38 of Rodney Sullins up into the air. Craig Hagley, Mike Mangialardi, Bob Sire. You had a few drivers that just came to a stop, waiting for the mayhem to settle in front of them. But yeah, to your point, I don't see anybody that not only took on what could potentially be race-ending damage, I don't see anybody that took on any type of damage that would have them off the pace. So a bit of a harmless wreck, if you can call it that, at a super speedway, bringing out our first caution of the evening. You had a number of drivers elect to come to pit road here, only 5, now 6 laps in, including the race leader Bob Seminara. So some mixed strategy here. Some drivers keeping track position, other drivers electing to come to pit road, have that little added security to go a little bit further if we go into a long green flag run until the next pit stop.
Yeah, I guess you could call that as harmless of a big one as you could get. Probably a medium one, I would say. But let's see. My math is serving me correctly here. Yeah, if you're topping off now, I think you're probably getting into the realm of, if this goes green, which as we saw last week, you might be able to make it on, will there be 2 more stops? So those guys topping off, I think they're going to be in good shape. I would have to imagine that a lot of these guys that have stayed out the first time around are probably going to opt for the same thing. We've seen the strategy from Brian Schilling at the end of last season. opting for the bonus points for the lap led. Wonder if he's already deploying that strategy, or maybe going to stay out here again. That'd be interesting if he does.
Looks like, oh, nope. Last minute makes the dive to
Staying
pit road.
corrected. Yep, there he goes. But yeah, I think that's going to be the right call for these guys, because with maybe just a teeny bit of fuel saving under this caution, I think you should be in good shape to make it on 2 more stops.
It's like Robbie Nice is going to stay out and lead a lap there. He'll probably dive onto pit road next time by after getting the lap lead bonus point, and it would turn the race lead back over to Bob Seminara. Yeah, interesting you bring up the point of them being like right on the window of a 2-stop from here to the checkers. Remember last week, only 1 caution in the early going of the race. We went green the rest of the way, and it came down to very close fuel numbers in the closing stages. Different racetrack, but could we get a little deja vu in back-to-back weeks? We'll have to wait and see. We'll give the announcement here now. Next week, it will be an off week for these drivers. This is in part why it is a bit of a shorter regular season. The shortest regular season we had prior was 9 races. Normally they have 10 regular season races and then the 6 playoff races, but due to the fact that next week the NASCAR Cup Series in real life is actually going to be having their duels on Thursday night, RTG officials calling the off week. So with that week gone, that is why we only have the 8 regular season weeks. And to be honest, as a driver, do you like that, having it just be the 8 regular season races so you don't have those 2 extra races to make a mistake if you're doing well running? Or do you not like having that shorter season in case you end up having 1 or 2 or 3 bad races to start the season and not enough races to make a comeback to get back in a playoff spot?
I would honestly say that the shorter season is going to make for the potential for a more diverse chase field, because with the shorter season, you've got less races, you've got more potential for yeah, like some of the big guys, if they have just a few bad races, or even just like 2 bad races, that's going to hurt you way more than if it's the 10 race season. So but then at the same time, you get some of these guys who maybe you don't see in championship contention very often. They get some good runs, and next thing you know, they're up top 5 in the standings. So I think that it's going to create for a much more, or it has the potential at least to create a much more diverse and more unpredictable chase field as compared to with the 10 races. Even though it's only a 2 race difference, that really makes a big change as far as the probability for something like that happening.
Andrew, the games are beginning already. Jeremy Jeffries just gave up what would have been a 3rd place restart spot to come to pit road and top off the fuel tank.
Got a few others there. There's Schilling. There's Ken Roberts. I see Josh Metallic, Chuck McClure, Doug Hewlett. You got some big guys that just topped off here. Ooh, they're going to be plenty good to go. There's Sullins, Wiley Coach. Yeah. There's some heavy hitters that have topped off here, but we're going to have the 712, number 712, leading them to the green here. I had to get that in there, of course.
Of course. He's got the
And
7-Eleven up above him there.
his counterpart, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, if that 7-Eleven had just traded sponsors, then you wouldn't have had to have gone off-brand on Seminara's machine.
What if we had
but
the 712 712 and the 711 711? We wouldn't have known who was on the front row from the front angle.
I mean, if the 82 and the 28 on the front row,
That's
that would
true
be a big
too.
problem.
Yeah, very similar schemes with their Davey Allison throwbacks, Hagley and Paglia for sure.
Oh
It's
my
like
God,
Alan
even their
Martin
names are close.
going to be up here in the 3rd restarting position. Alan Martin, as we understood, for those that didn't recognize that name at the start of the season, he has previously raced in the RTG series. It had been a while, and he made his return, and he's been looking a little bit more confident here the last couple of weeks. And right now, going to restart beside of the top 5. Last week's winner, Grant Wesley, trying to be the first repeat winner on the season, trying to do back-to-back, and Milt Surratt, who had to take a provisional last week, he's now up here in the 5th position for the upcoming restart. All 37 drivers going to still be on the lead lap, hopefully up to speed when we go back green here. Lap 9 will go on the board, and Bob Seminara will get us back underway for the 2nd time here tonight.
Coming to the restart zone. Who's going to get the jump here? You know that Seminara is going to probably keep it down to that inside lane for the initial part of this restart, trying to get clear. But the question is he going to keep it down to that inside lane? Or is he going to try to jump back up there this time as compared to the first time? Because we saw that outside lane start to charge ahead once the numbers got up there. So let's see what he does. Going to keep it down there for now.
Yep, stays to the bottom. I wondered if maybe he and Godfrey might try and pull off the okie dokie, with Godfrey maybe trying to let him in there on the top, but a big push for Godfrey down the back straightaway, and those two will be dead even for the lead going into 3. Oh! Two cars in the wall, but they kept it going straight. I think that was Causey and
No, we got
Sire.
Spinner and Schilling are going around.
And that is going to bring out the yellow. They had it saved at the brief moment I saw there up at the top of turn 3, but caution waves, second time here tonight. Frozen field, and Seminary will lead them back to the start-finish line.
Josh Metallic also around doing they're trying to get it spun around there in the grass. But it looked like Josh may have taken a bit of a hit to the outside wall. We'll see what that's going to do as far as his pace. But Seth, didn't we just see those guys top off on fuel at the back of the field, and then next thing you know, very next lap they're in trouble?
Yep, that's the risk you take when you try and play the off strategy in super speedway racing, because everything that happens usually happens in front of you when you give up that track position for that extra security in the fuel tank. Let's go back and take a look at what happened. I'm assuming that this might have been something in reaction to the initial contact that took place between Kelly Causey and Bob Sire. So watch left side of the screen. 00 in the 027. It looks like Causey didn't realize Sire was to his outside, and then I think the one of Jeremy Jeffries checks up a bit. Schilling's into the back of him, Metallic's into the back of Schilling. Josh Metallic 2 for 2 and getting involved in wrecks here tonight. How good does it gotta feel if you're a driver that already has a win in the bank, knowing that you can rely potentially on that win getting you into the playoffs if you don't maintain top 12 in standings by the end of the regular season?
Yeah, all you're going to be is just a little bit annoyed that you got in trouble, but
Yep.
You're not going to. But that's just going to be in the moment. But then after that, you're going to be like, well, whatever. I'm going to the postseason, so it's all good. That was definitely a bizarre deal there with the 00 and the 027. It looked like Causey may have just been a little bit indecisive, was probably checking up for the outside, but was also trying to be like, okay, do I just stay in line and go with it, or do I get in front of the 027? And I think just got a little bit indecisive there, and that's what kind of got that. And I only say that because I've been in that situation before, where it's like, should I just stay put or do I go up there? And I'm kind of teetering in the middle, and it creates a bigger problem. Seth, I'm sure you and I have both. I'm sure you've been in that situation as well.
And you talked about this, and I wonder if it's something that these drivers deal with as well. You know, we talked about the fact that it's the same setup that these drivers have run season after season, even back when they were running last year in the trucks. But you said when you were out there testing that it felt like the cars were a lot faster. So, and I believe some drivers have actually documented as well that they feel like these Aero 88 cars can generate a run a lot quicker than the trucks were able to. So, the comfort level of being able to make the move to the top or the bottom to be able to either block the run or try and lead that line, it might be that you have to make that decision a little bit quicker now with these cars than you had to even as early as last year.
You have to commit one way or the other. But from the few laps that I ran, and I have not run this mod very much, I will fully admit that. But the few laps that I did run, and in comparing that to the trucks, which I did run a lot of, it really did feel faster. I don't know if it's because I was actually going faster, or if it's just because the cars are smaller. And there could be even those subtle little differences in like how the view of the rear view mirror that these guys have. Some mods are a little bit different in that regard. This one seemed about the same, but like Seth, as you and I know, I think it's like DMR NXX 16. That mirror is really different compared to most mods. So even something like that could play a little bit of a factor into deciding, like, all right, do I have enough room to go up there or not? But then, yeah, of course, the runs, how quickly they're coming, the fact that the checkups seem to be a little bit bigger, as you said, might also allude to the fact that these guys are probably getting more speed out of the draft. And it may have to do with the smaller spoiler. I know that sounds silly, being the fact that it's still CTS physics,
I
but
was thinking the same thing though. It's weird. I know it's cosmetic only, but when you look at them visibly, you wonder if that smaller spoiler is creating more speed.
there's got to be those subtle differences. Like, I'm sure that if you ran this mod, NCTS 09, and then 2015 CWS and any other CTS mod, you're going to notice those subtle little differences as far as how they drive and how they react.
It looks like most everybody up at the front going to keep the track position here. We did have some drivers towards the back of the pack that decided to come down pit road. A couple of them coming down for damage repair, including Kelly Causey, Bob Sire. You got to think they probably pancaked the right side of their machines with their contact into 3. Josh Metallic as well, coming down the pit lane. But again, we're 2 for 2 here in really not heavy contact for any of the drivers involved. Maybe that right front hit for Josh Metallic, but it didn't look like something that's going to have him off the pace. We'll just have to wait and see when they get up to speed. Obviously, in typical Rolling Thunder gaming fashion, there's always a race going on within the race. And of course, I'm referring to the Bracket Challenge. Tonight is round 3 of the Bracket Challenge, and these are the matchups here tonight. Some good ones. Joe DeSpirito, the defending Bracket champions, taking on Wiley Coate this evening. Rodney Sullins is going up against JT Mayhew. Bobby Farrell against Josh Metallic. And Craig Hagley is taking on Jeremy Jeffries. So we are very quickly closing in on our semifinals on the winner's side of the bracket. And yeah, with that expedited regular season, it's putting more pressure on these drivers to not only perform to get into the playoffs, but also to be able to, at the end of the season, get that bracket championship.
Yeah, you got a championship within a championship. And wasn't it last season that Despirito lost the season championship by 1 point, but has the bracket championship in
That's right.
hand. So you got a little bit of a consolation there. But yeah, so when I found out that I was going to be doing this, I was instantly thinking back to that season finale that I got to call with you. Holy moly, was that fun! And I'm super stoked that I'm able to be calling this one with you once again. These are always such a blast. Thank you again.
The
Seriously.
best line of last season, that finale, Joe DeSpirito, I didn't even know I still had a shot at the championship. We're up
Yeah,
here
no.
punching the numbers. He's down there just trying to win the race, thinking he didn't have a ghost of a shot for the championship trophy.
You and I didn't know if it was 1 point or if they were tied, and yeah, he was like, I don't know. I was just going for the win.
Let's also give a little bit of an update here on the point standings coming into this one and who came into this race currently holding a playoff position if the season had come to a close, the regular season that is, at the conclusion of last week at Talladega. Joe DeSpirito leading the points. He has been absolutely dominant, consistently finishing up in the top 5 in these first 5 races. He has a 44-point lead over Mark Paglia. Josh Metallic, he's had a struggling start to the night, but he is 3rd in overall points, a former winner on the season. JT Mayhew is 4th, Bob Seminara 5th. Rodney Sullins is currently 6th, Brian Schilling in 7th. Jeremy Jeffries is tied with Greg Palmer for 8th. Palmer, of course, winning the season opener. Chuck McClure and Terry Bombard are currently in a tie for 10th. And Kelly Causey, John Godfrey are in a tie for 12th. I'm not sure how the tiebreakers would have all worked, or if all those drivers I just mentioned would have locked themselves in via top 12 in points. You've also got wildcard drivers right now that are in via win, but outside the top 12 in points. Grant Wesley, he's right now 14th in overall points, so he could move into the top 12 easily here tonight. And Tim Nofsker, he ended up dropping 11 spots in the standings last week and is not in the field here tonight. He is 22nd in overall points, so right now, he and Dante Ricky, a couple of former winners on the season, and Dante is in the field here tonight, their wins would not count towards a playoff position as things currently stand. So Nofsker's got some work to do in the final 2 races of this regular season starting in 2 weeks' time.
And that's just what kind of what we were getting at with this shorter season. Those bad races are just going to hurt you so much more, or races that you miss, which of course, I mean, obviously well, life takes priority over this, but still, though, it's not going to take much. And then you really got to claw your way forward. Because, like you said, you can win a race, but you got to get back into that top 20 in points. And if you can't do that, then, well, it's all for naught.
So one thing that I like about the format for the playoffs here in this series, because it rewards the drivers that win, but it also rewards consistency. I mean, take last year for example. Richard Martin won the championship. Guess how many races he won? 0. He was consistent the entire year. Top fives and top tens got him to that championship, and kind of think about it, that's in a way kind of how back in the day the NASCAR Classic point system worked, where it rewarded the consistency as much as it did the trips to victory lane.
Absolutely. I mean, speaking of the man himself, I mean, he's third on the inside lane and just kind of in a safe spot right there. Although we've got some more three wide action going on here. Jeremy Jeffries leading the outside lane, trying to make it three wide here, just getting ahead of Bobby Farrell. We got to send a shout out here to another top 10 runner that we don't see up here quite as often, and that's Jim Black. Oh, that's four wide almost. This is what I was about to call now, but yeah, shout out to that number 58 there, now leading the outside lane and making some headway. But yeah, we don't see him too often up here in the top 10. So great to see that out of Jim Black.
Yeah, second start in the season, I believe it is, for Jim Black, and trying to see if he can lead that third lane to the top of the leaderboard. You got about 8, 9, 10 cars up in that third lane. The middle lane is the group that doesn't have the numbers. There's only about 4 of them there. Then a gap from Bobby Farrell back to Wiley Coates. And when this third lane forms, we've seen that here in the past at BSR, it will actually kind of stall out that middle lane's momentum, kind of your typical super speedway where the middle lane becomes the proverbial sucker hole. We don't see that at Talladega. Usually the middle line is the overpowering line that everybody wants to be in, but not here at Burnt Screwdrivers.
Yeah, once again in that three wide situation there, the dirty air is just going to keep you trapped there. Although now that outside lane's starting to drop back a little bit, and then you've got a Richard Martin jumping up now with a great pusher, and John Godfrey behind him. Milt Surratt is there, and Donnie Garrett. Never ever count out that 77. And now I think we're going to see some more muscle out of this middle line, especially with them kind of pinching down a little bit there on the lower line, trying to get that momentum on their side. Ron Hagelin also up here in the going to be about the third or fourth position. Another driver to shout out here on a solid run thus far. Currently being pushed by Joe DeSpirito.
Not hard to see that neon yellow and green City Chevrolet of Joe DeSpirito there, fourth on that inside line. Some drivers up here having some good runs here. I know it's still in the early going, but some drivers that could definitely make it interesting for the top 12 in overall points. You've got right now Richard Martin leading that outside line. He comes to this race 15th in the point standings. Donnie Garrett, you mentioned there, 5th on the inside line, is 18th in points. He jumped up 7 spots in the standings last week. And Bernie Mobbs is right now the 6th car on that inside line, the Citgo Dodge. Bernie comes into this race 20th in points. These are some drivers with a good points-paying night. Even if they don't go to victory lane, they mathematically have a shot of being up inside of the top 12 in points at the conclusion of the evening. I know we've got 5 races under our belts, but the points are still super, super close, from about 6th or 7th in points all the way down to around 22nd, 23rd in the standings. We've seen a lot of drivers be able to pick up multiple spots in the standings. Case in point, Grant Wesley last week, double-digit jump, 13 spots from 27th to 14th in points with his victory. So with the big fields that we keep seeing week after week, all the points up for grabs, there is plenty of time for a driver that may be outside of the top 15, even top 20 in points, to find themselves up in the top 12 by the end of tonight.
And that's where it's just such a wild card with the shorter season, is that it's like you said, 5 races in, and we've got guys jumping up and down the standings a double-digit number of positions. And yeah, as you said, we're halfway there. So the swing. Oh,
whoa!
Goodness,
speaking of swing,
Jeremy. But the swing in points is going to be about as drastic as that swing that Jeremy just had.
It's hard to tell if Jeremy just maybe took the corner a little wide there, or maybe had a little contact from behind. But he keeps it going. That stalled out completely the third lane. We're now back to double wide racing, starting from around the 5th position on back. Donnie Garrett and Richard Martin side by side for that spot. Top 4 on the inside line clear for the moment. I'm trying to remember what lap we went back green. I think it was lap 14 or 15. So that would push the fuel window for most of these drivers somewhere around 35 to 37. Remember, though, too, a lot of these race leaders stayed out under the last caution. So I would say probably closer to the lap 35 mark is when these drivers would have to start thinking about coming to pit road potentially for a green flag pit stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Just checking on the rest of the field here. Cy Jones is the only car that has lost a draft. Everyone that has been involved in some kind of an incident thus far. Still looking no worse for wear. Still plenty up to speed. 36 of the 37 drivers still in this lead draft. My gosh, that is absolutely huge. I think still a testament of just how popular the sim is. Great to see a big field like this. Of course, yeah, as Seth, as you and I know, of course, the campaign to keep things going when things were on kind of iffy ground there for a little bit, but the community really coming together to show that this thing is still going strong, and it's awesome to see.
Absolutely. I mean, as late as last week and in our season opener, unfortunately, some drivers had to be sent home. They had knockout qualifying, and so far this season, we have not had a field less than 35 cars. 37 drivers took the green flag here tonight in this one. And it has made things in the past seasons as well. It has made things interesting with the big car counts all the way down to the regular season finale as to drivers making their way in. It gets to the point where there's so many points up for grabs that, we just kind of throw up our hands and let the admins do the calculations and then say who is in and who is out, because it's kind of an anybody's guess trying to do all the math with all the different drivers finishing in the various different positions. Right now, though, Bob Seminaro looking like the dominant car. He got the pole position. Granted, it was via the random qualifying draw, but he has made the most of it. He's led 18 of the completed 22 laps so far here tonight, trying to become the 6th different winner on the season. And, the running story the last couple of weeks has really been, actually the last 3 weeks, has been drivers ending winless streaks. Tim Nofsker, Josh Metallic, those two had multiple seasons back to their last victory and finally broke back into victory lane. And Grant Wesley, it was funny because when you think about Grant Wesley, you're thinking he's a guaranteed win every single season. And last week when we talked to him in victory lane, he was like, it's great to be able to snap this winless streak. Been a while since I've been to victory lane. And I thought, wait, hold on a second. I went back and looked, and yeah, he didn't have a single win last season. It was the season finale of season 59 the last time he went to victory lane. So we've seen 3 drivers already be able to snap some pretty sizable winless streaks, and it's been a while since Bob Seminaro's been to victory lane. Maybe he can be the 4th straight driver.
Wouldn't be surprised. He'd be the best man to do it. Seminaro always knows how to get it done on these tracks. Of course, yeah, he's got to defend Mr. Wesley there. Ron Hagelin, I would imagine, probably I think he would be looking for his first Talladega win, or for the Tally Challenge. But then another powerhouse behind him in Joe DeSpirito. Of course, last season's runner-up, Donnie Garrett. I think that he's on quite the winless streak himself. So that would be another big one there. And, I mean, even though he's the reigning champion, Richard Martin,
Yep.
winless for that championship season.
Yeah, I don't remember when his last victory actually was. It's definitely prior to season 59, I do believe. Might have been season 57. I'd have to double check on that. We will keep you updated on a situation that has just occurred. Doug Hewlick in the 23 looks like some connection problems. He not only fell out of the server, but also out of the communications channel of TeamSpeak. Looks like he is now getting back in. He'll obviously lose at least 1 lap here. He would be, I would assume, in the lucky dog position if we were to get a caution. We'll update on officially how many laps down he is once everything cycles around on our scoring. But tough break there for Doug Hewlick, who, for the most part tonight, has kind of kept himself out of trouble, has been up here in the lead pack, but now going to have to hope that maybe a caution saves his race.
An early pitter here, Jim Black. Boy, that's really early. He must not sure, maybe just going off strategy or maybe what the call is there, but he's going awfully slow. I don't know. Jim might be having a bit of a problem here himself.
It's off sequence, but he's coming down pit road by himself at the point where drivers would be able to make it the rest of the way on one stop. It's at the
That
40
is
to go
true.
mark, but then again, though, you're risking coming out of pit road all by your lonesome and probably getting swallowed up by the field and going a lap down. There's no guarantee that when everything cycles back around that you're going to be up in the lead group.
Yeah, and it looked like he was really pulling into a stall very slowly, so that's what kind of threw up the red flag for me. Oh, we got a couple more here.
Dixon and Larry D, looks like.
Yeah, I would imagine these guys probably that must be just off sequence. That's my guess because I'm pretty sure that these drivers going to be able to go probably another 7 laps, 8 laps, if I had to take a guess, as far as fuel goes.
Usually, Bob Dixon's kind of the Pied Piper of determining when the green flag pit stops are going to be. Usually comes in about a lap or two prior than everybody else.
Oh,
I think some radios are lighting up.
Yeah, I think we miscalculated something here.
Okay.
We got a lot of guys coming in here.
All right, so looks like Ron Hagelin
Oh,
there.
that's right. Yeah, a lot of these guys stayed out under that second caution. Yeah, what am I talking about?
Well, yeah, and I took that into account, but still apparently miscalculated. I thought they were going to be able to go about lap 35, which is a big group of cars coming down, and they're up. Oh, nope, I thought they were all going to make it fine, but Milt Surratt got into the back of Bernie Mobbs. Keeps it going,
usually
though.
one. There's usually something.
Yep.
When you got that many cars coming down pit road.
And when you have all the different drivers trying to utilize the art of hot pitting. A lot of different braking zones when it comes to the art of hot pitting. And a big group means things are going to be very congested, but that was not too bad there. Milt Surratt going around, maybe a little contact with John Godfrey, as Jeremy Jeffries inherits the race lead. And we probably will see these drivers on pit lane within the next lap or two. Yep, Jeremy's coming in this time.
Ooh,
Wiley Cove.
Just him and Wiley. Okay, that's different. Now, we do have a big pack here that's going to be able to go a few laps further. Because I don't know why I had it locked in my head that pretty much everybody pitted under that last caution. They didn't. So we're going to have a big group here that's going to be able to go quite a few more laps. And that could actually really benefit them because now they're going to be single file. They've got to navigate, of course, these guys getting up to speed. But I think that when you get single file like this, these guys are really going to be able to overcut it. And usually with it breaking up into smaller packs after pit stops, I think that this could prove to be the lead pack here.
Yeah, looking right now, it looks like Paglia, McClure, Schilling, Causey, all of these drivers were on pit road under the last caution, and it looks like McClure and Schilling, Causey, Hagley, Rodney Sullins, they all then came down and topped off at the 1 to green under the last yellow as well, so add maybe another lap of fuel the distance they can go. All these drivers here trying to form up ahead of them, trying to stay ahead of them on the tail end of the lead lap. The big reason for that would be in case a yellow flag comes out right here and now, they would cycle around to the tail end of the field rather than having to rely on who would be the first two cars one lap down and recipient of the lucky dog.
Yeah, exactly. And here we go. Got this pack coming down now. Paglia leading them. Keeping it clean thus far. Barry Bombard's in there.
Now it's all a matter of did they get it woed down to pit road speed quickly enough, because the race officials, of course, will be diligent and willing to give out a black flag where they see a pit road exceeding.
Now, so two guys that actually stayed out here.
I don't think I've seen anybody get hit with a speeding penalty yet of all the drivers that pit.
Kelly Causey and Craig Hagley have stayed out here yet again. And they're getting some draft off of these lap cars. So, well, this will be interesting to see where they will cycle out. Yeah, everyone's really all over the place right now. This is going to be very interesting. And since it's only two of them, they can be a little more aggressive on the pit road entry here.
JT Mayhew stayed out with them as well. He's coming in this time by.
Oh, yeah, good call there. Now, what this could also open the door for them, it's like, okay, sure, everyone's going to be able to make it on a designated number of stops now. But under that last pit stop, will you potentially be able to bring it down to one can or maybe a can and a half and save yourself those few seconds? But I'm looking at it now, compared to Schilling, McClure, Paglia, and those guys that just pitted, actually, they're going to merge right with the pack that pitted earlier. So they're going to be one big happy pack here once again.
Yes, they are. That outside line is the group that came to pit road the lap prior to the group on the inside line. They're up to speed. They've got the momentum. And Despirito's going to pull right up alongside of Brian Schilling in what's eventually going to be the battle for the race lead. Got some drivers coming off of pit lane. I don't think they're going to be able to merge with this lead group. I don't think they're going to be completely up to speed. They got to go below Cy Jones, above Causey and Hagley.
Ooh, that's dicey.
That is quite the plethora off of turn 2. My goodness.
I don't think they're going to be able to quite hold this lead pack. I don't think they probably didn't quite have the speed, but still a great effort there. And yeah, like even if I do lose that little bit of ground, pitting with just myself and another maybe 2 or 3 is still so much more preferred over pitting with the big pack. Because sure, you'll come out with the big pack, but that's assuming that nothing happens on entry. And entry is the danger spot for things to go wrong.
So I forgot when we went back green, so that's why I had the whole miscalculation of when these drivers were going to be coming to pit road. Now that I've seen them make the green flag pit stop, going back to your point about maybe being able to take just a can of fuel on the final pit stop, I don't think they can. They can maybe do a can and a half instead of 2 cans, but I think the furthest that a driver would be able to go here on this run would be somewhere in the vicinity of lap 52. That would put them 14 laps short, and they'd need to be around 10 laps to go to be able to bring the 1 can of fuel scenario into play.
Yeah, I think that's a good call there. But even then, I mean, a can and a half is going to save you a good probably 3 seconds sitting on pit road. Oh my gosh, we're about to go 3 wide here again.
Yes, we are. How about Josh Metallic? 2 for 2 in the cautions we've had so far here tonight, but he's leading that third lane and trying to get up here to the front. Jessica Shelton's had a quiet night and now making her presence felt up here at the front, leading that middle line.
Yeah, I saw her at the back of the field for the first run, and now she's up here being pushed by Grant Wesley, although now going to get caught in the sucker hole. Of course, she's also been kind of serving as a bit of an in-race reporter as well, just kind of feeding some information about how things are racing, what the fuel's looking like, and also reminded me of something else, which I'll get to in just a moment. But now in the sucker hole, Bernie Mobs leading the outside. But to your point, though, and now that they've gone 3 wide like this, look at how many car lengths that inside lane has just checked out.
Is 712 side-to-siding for you here in second position?
Ooh, he is, yeah.
Yeah, that's a little sketchy. He was doing that before when he and Despirito and Shelton were trying to clear themselves from the middle of the inside line. Have to keep tabs on that. He's had a really strong car here tonight. He's led 24 laps so far. You'd hate to see him have to get forced to the back because of a side-to-side warp issue and give up all that track position.
Yeah, I mean, I even saw Demar warp out for like a brief second, probably about 8 laps ago, just before they pitted. So, yeah, connection can definitely play a factor in that. In fact, actually, I think we're rediscussing that last season, Seth, with Joe DeSpirito.
Yeah.
A lot of connection issues for him last season, and 1 point short of the championship. What does that tell you?
Yeah, exactly. He gave a shout out, I believe it was, to Spectrum for that amazing internet service. If I
remember that. And we'll also just throw this out here, just kind of while we're settled down, at least for the moment. Seth, I know that you've got a pretty big race coming up here, a bit of a Daytona 500 of your own.
Yeah, looking forward to that. That's going to be on JTN, Johto Network, Friday, the 23rd of February. We're going old school just like these drivers. We're going back to the 2007 era with the COT cars at Daytona. Should be a good one. You're going to actually see a number of these Rolling Thunder Gaming drivers actually behind the wheel in that one. That will be Friday, February 23rd at believe it's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's going to be over on JTN. They've done a lot of the special events for NSRA. I appreciate them doing that. And yeah, looking forward to that event. That's always been a favorite. That and Talladega seem to be the two big ones that everybody likes running for the NSRA special events.
Hey, the car that I run at this league on Monday nights, that's my Talladega car from last year, because that thing is awesome. Jessica Shelton now getting to the inside lane. Now she was actually just talking to me here, and she kind of reported something. A lot of the guys on track are seeing side to side from almost the whole field, so it actually seems like it might be the server maybe getting a little bit unstable. Because yeah, do you see that from Schilling?
Yep. Schilling, Seminara.
Yeah, it's starting to look like it might be the server.
That is.
But again, it's just a few guys. I can't tell really.
That's nerve-wracking enough when it's just a regular league race at a speedway. When it's a super speedway where everybody's up each other's gearboxes and side by side, double wide, three wide, that's clench the wheel a little bit tighter moment.
Just a little bit, but that inside lane definitely the place to be. We're seeing that now. Jessica getting up there, although Schilling doing a good job of holding it there for right now on the slightly upper lane. The far outside lane being led by, I think that's Craig Hagley. It might be Mark Hagley. I can't tell.
It's one of the Texas Hagley cars.
It's one of them.
Yeah, you're right. That is the 82.
And I think Seminara just had a bit of a bigger blip there, either that or it was the guy behind him. So yeah, this is getting kind of sketchy here, Seth.
Shelton's still looking to lead her first lap of the night. It's been a drag race between herself and Brian Schilling the last 3 laps or so, and Schilling has won out with the momentum in that middle line through the tri-oval.
And here comes the outside once again. I'm actually really impressed. This is the most that we've seen either of those, either the middle or the far outside lane, make this much headway.
Yeah, I think the third line's got the momentum right now. It seems like the inside and middle line are kind of stalling each other out. That third lane is the one that's actually forging ahead, Craig Hagley. Oh, and now it looks like maybe that middle line is starting to lose the momentum. Schilling lost a couple of car lengths to Shelton that time from the tri-oval over to turn 1. As they got to deal with a slower car. Oh, I think Seminara might be dropping to the back.
I was just about to say, I saw him flipping more and more. Oh, that sucks. He was the dominant guy. And now he's going to be, oh goodness, hard time getting back up on track.
Oh no, he got into somebody.
Oh, did he get into Terry?
I think he got into Bombard, and the caution is going to wave.
Jim Blank also is stuck on the transition.
Caution out for the third time here tonight. Interesting the timing of this yellow, because probably around the time that we would get the 1 to green, if they topped off, they might be able to make it to the conclusion, because we're about 24 laps away from the end of the race. And they can go maybe 21 laps. Pretty much the median, we are told, is usually 20 laps. And we do have some lap machines, so we'll have that extra lap of pacing. I think Mike Mangialardi and Cy Jones. Mike Mangialardi had just gotten lapped, and Cy Jones had stayed latched on to the lead pack. They're going to be the lucky dog drivers here.
That's going to be really close.
Yeah.
I'm going to make the same reference I did the season finale. You're going to have to Bikram yoga stretch the fuel here. I have to send you the clip so that you know what that's from. I will send that to you after this race.
Seems like just about every co-commentator I have always has their own little saying, and I feel like I need to be making T-shirts or something.
I mean, this one's you have to have Kobe on it, because it was a quote from Kobe.
There you saw the contact. Seminara was in a tough situation there. He moved to the inside to let everybody by. Had to get back up the racetrack there going into turn 3, and I think they were 3 wide above him. Terry didn't really have much of a choice in giving him room. And
that was just a bad
gets him in the
spot.
left rear.
That was just such a bad spot to be like, all right, I'm going to drop back now as they are passing a lap car.
Yeah, that was Mike Mangialardi. Yeah, you're right. That's why they were 3 wide there, because the tail end of this lead pack was trying to get around the 029. See here again, Terry is trying to give room to Josh, who's trying to get by Mangialardi, and then Seminara comes up the track and gets the 10. And then there's Jim Black in the 58.
To the inside. No real hit there for Jim, but Terry maybe a little bit more of a hit there on the outside. But again, from what we saw with Josh Metallic and the fact that he's been up to speed pretty good, I think he should be okay. But we'll see as we got the field coming off pit road here.
Looks like Craig Hagley is going to lead a lap here. This is, I believe, his second lap lead of the night. Bob Dixon also staying out. Brian Rawson. And those are the drivers on the lead lap that have stayed out. You've got some lap machines there in Doug Kulik. Your lucky dog drivers, Mike Mangialardi and Cy Jones, they'll be on pit road this next time around. Bob Sire, what kind of pit strategy did he pull off right there? He's up in what will eventually be the second position. He was second off pit road behind Bob Seminara. Or wait, or did he... Or actually, maybe, I think he might have stayed out with the 712, actually. Yeah, he did. Okay, never mind. I thought Seminara had come off pit road as the race leader, but he actually stayed out along with Black and Robbie Nices. It'll actually be Brian Schilling that will eventually cycle around to the race lead if all these other drivers ahead either come to pit road or potentially take the wave around. I believe Jim Black and Robbie Nices, if they decided to take the wave around, they'd be back to one lap down. Doug Kulik would be, I believe, 2 laps down. I'd have to double check on that. He might be 3 laps down.
At least according to the current scoring, he's 3 down as it stands. Jim Black. Oh wait, no. Okay, yeah, that was last time around with him being in front of the leader. My bad. But wait, this will be interesting. Yeah, as you said, with the lap car, who's going to opt to try to stretch the fuel, and who's just going to bite the bullet, maybe hope for a caution, and just take the splash.
Top 4, Hagley, Dixon, Rawson, and Sire. They have not come to pit road yet in this one. New colors there for Brian Rawson. We'll give a shout out to Rodney Sullins. If you guys tuned into the season opener this year, obviously a lot of drivers, with this being a throwback mod, running a lot of different throwback schemes. I mean, you can clearly see that with the driver currently out in front, the Davey Allison throwback on Craig Hagley. And I will readily admit, I am not the best when it comes to being able to especially pick out the year, let alone the driver that the throwback is to. And Rodney Sullins has been kind enough for a lot of the schemes he's done here in this series to send me a little note as to, hey, so-and-so is going to have a scheme this week, and they're throwing it back to this driver. This is a Darrell Waltrip throwback on the number 6 here tonight. And shout out to Rodney there. Not only does a great job with these paints, but also giving us the information we need up here in the booth to be able to say who each throwback is to that we see during the course of these Thursday night races.
Yeah, definitely among one of the best painters in the NR community, alongside, I would argue, you, Seth. You've done some pretty good stuff yourself, but
I think Rodney's got me. I think Rodney's got me beat.
Ooh, that's a toss up, I think. But no, yeah, he did my scheme for their Wednesday series, which is now running CWS 2015, and oh man, that thing is beautiful, and he's made a lot of beautiful stuff. So always rooting for Rodney Sullins, of course, as is Sandra Sullins in the chat from just before we started, rooting for number 38. But I was also just talking with kind of our in-race reporter, I guess you could say. Yeah, it's going to be insanely close. Like, even if you top off now, it is going to be really iffy as far as making it on fuel. So I think we're going to get another lap here. No.
21 to go when we go green. That is, oh man. Very rarely do we even see drivers make it 21 laps on a run. Unless you really hardcore save. I don't know, Andrew. I'm seeing a little deja vu from last week potentially here if we manage to run the final stint under green flag. But here's the other thing as well. we do have a couple of lap machines. We ended up having Mike Mangialardi and Cy Jones get back on the lead lap right there via the lucky dog. Looks like Doug Kulick took the wave around to get one of his 3 laps back, but he'll still be -2. Jim Black and Robbie Nisus are a lap down apiece. So we've got that extra lap of caution if we have another yellow, and we've got that potential point of no return around the completion of lap 62. If we get past that point, don't take the white flag and a caution comes out, that 1 or 2 laps short that drivers might be, they could easily clutch it and be able to make it to the checkered flag without having to come to pit road. So it's a question of what lap are we racing to?
Yeah. From what I was just told, it looks like the guys that did not top off, pretty much no way that they're saving enough. If the guys that did just top off, it's still going to be like incredibly iffy. Like you said, we could end up with a JT Mayhew, Terry Bombard situation from last week. But to everyone else, I think that they're just going to take their splash and go, which it looks like is probably going to be probably the top 15 or top 12 at least, who did not top off there and probably or almost certainly going to have to pit again.
Well, last week, as you mentioned, Terry Bombard, JT Mayhew tried to make it on fuel. They were half a lap short, ran out of fuel on the back straightaway going into turn 3. We'll see if anybody's going to be able to make it. The 21 remaining laps as the green flag is back in the air. Also going to be, that was a little sketch right there, a little contact maybe between Despirito and Hagley, but it's going to be also interesting to see for these drivers that did not top off. Let's say we get another yellow flag between now and that point of no return. Maybe the laps that they're short, they could clutch and save enough under those pacing laps, not give up the track position, or would they be forced to pit road to top off the fuel tank on that little bit of gasoline that they're lacking? Could be interesting strategy in that regard, but still a ways to go before we even get to that point.
Yeah, exactly. I with at this point in the race, obviously the likelihood of a caution is going to be a bit higher. And Seth could call me a conspiracy theorist for saying this, but I swear that this track, compared to the regular Talladega version that they run, just seems to bring out a little more craziness toward the end. I don't know if that's just something that I'm just going crazy out, or I've observed it between both this series and uh, previous seasons. But I don't know. I'm sniffing another yellow.
Well, it could be also the fact that, we've seen in the past here the comparison between this and Talladega. Runs seem to be generated a little bit quicker here at this particular track, so more opportunity to be able to make moves as you get closer to the end of this race. And we've already seen it here tonight, and we've seen it in past seasons as well. All 3 lanes work. We've seen the middle line be able to counter the inside line, and we've seen that third line actually have the advantage on occasions, working all the way up to the front of the field. So with all those different options, I think you're absolutely right that we get closer to the end of this race here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, and things get a little bit more racy up at the front, knowing there's a checkered flag on the line. Now, one thing that I would point out here as well is there's a couple of drivers that are up here towards the front that I'm noticing that they're kind of racing with nothing to lose. He's been very quiet tonight, but that Canada Dry number 84 of Dante Ricky is looming 6th on the inside line. He's a former winner this season. He's told us that he's running part-time, knows he's not going to be able to make enough starts to gain enough points to be in the championship, but he's already been to victory lane here this season. He's told us every week that we see him here in season 61, he's out there just hunting for that checkered flag. So while other drivers are looking for a win to get them into the playoffs, they might have to fight this driver who's out here just trying to get as many checkered flags as he can in the limited starts this season.
And he's capable of it. As you said, a winner already this season. Multi-time, many wins in the Tally Challenge. So I'm going to be expecting that 84 to be a threat here. What I'm also going to be expecting to see here probably is guys that are going to be probably just trying to file in line, maybe just get into a line where they can just run half throttle and try to save that extra lap or two. Because this is it's Talladega. You can't clutch. It's not like you can go into the corner and throw in the clutch to slow your car down. for the corner, you just got to have throttle it and hope for the best. And with the CTS fall off, that's going to be incredibly hard to do. I think that the most that you could realistically save is probably a lap, maybe a lap and a half if you do it really well and you're at the rear of the field. But outside of that, like if you're Brian Schilling, there's no way, or probably anyone here in the top 5 on the inside line. I just don't see it happening where they can lift enough to save enough fuel without causing a bunch of problems.
So let's talk about that in the case of Brian Schilling. Obviously, out in front, creating the draft for the drivers behind him. So if they were close on fuel or if they were like right on the borderline, there'd be absolutely no way that he'd be able to make it to the conclusion without coming to pit lane. So what is the goal for him right now being the lead car? He's not mathematically going to be able to get the bonus point for most laps led. He just completed the 10th circuit out in front, but Bob Seminara has led 24 laps, so unlikely Brian Schilling will eclipse that to get the most laps led bonus point. Is it you want the lead to be ahead of any mayhem if it happens? Do you want that ease of access, being the lead car of the group that comes to pit lane, not having to adhere to somebody else's braking zone? Is it just a comfort level feeling being out in front? What would it be here for the Busch Chevrolet?
I mean, it's a double-edged sword. You either lead and you run out of fuel, or you bite the bullet and you pit, or you drop to the back and completely lose that track position. And like you said, potentially get in trouble like this.
Craig Hagley around the tri-oval, and the
that's
track is completely blockaded at the start-finish line.
Wow.
Super Speedway racing is usually good for the big one. We just had it on lap 51.
Well, I guess that takes the fuel equation out of this.
I think it does.
But again, I didn't see anything sure, it was a lot of cars, but I didn't see anything too severe out of that.
I believe the 82 of Craig Hagley got hooked on the inside of the tri-oval there, and that thing might have caught air as it kind of floated back across the racetrack into oncoming traffic. But to your point, yeah, the damage model for the Aero 88 cars is a little bit deceptive. You don't see a whole lot of damage, even if it's a hard hit, visibly. You kind of have to, it's kind of a wait and see once the cars get up to speed. But yeah, to your point, I'm not seeing any like major crash damage on any of these drivers.
I wonder if that's another reason they went for this mod, is because
Maybe
they don't catch air as much, which actually I think that's actually true. Like they don't, like when they go backwards, they get a little airborne, but they don't like blow over like the trucks were.
Craig Hagley was actually on the outside line, 5th car on the outside line. Let's see how he got down to the inside. Oh, looked like he tried to... Was it a bump from Surratt that sent him down there, or did he try to clear himself across the nose of Donnie Garrett?
It had to have been a bump with how abruptly he did that. Because that would have been really aggressive if he was trying to clear himself like that. I think he probably just got a little tap just as the car was unloading there.
Show another angle here. Pick your favorite driver, see if they get through. But again, to your point, relatively light contact for the most part. Alan Martin, Wiley Coate, Larry D, Terry Bombard, Bernie Mubbs, Jim Black, Doug Hewlick, Bob Dixon, Bobby Farrell. I believe even Grant Wesley, last week's winner, got the outside wall with the right side of his machine as he was trying to swing around the spinning 82. But yeah, nothing, you know, there's contact obviously, but nothing that indicates that it's going to take a driver out of this race.
Things are going to get interesting here. A lot of those guys that we were saying, like, there's no way they're going to make it, a lot of them just pitted, including Schilling, McClure, and others. New leader now is going to be Joe DeSpirito, 24. And then it's Greg Palmer, Rodney Sullins, Kelly Causey, and Milt Surratt are going to be the top 5 as it stands. And I believe that these are the guys that may have popped off. And with some clutch in here, I think they're going to be just fine to make it to the end. Still probably a little close. unless we get another caution. But yeah, this caution is really going to help them out, and they're taking full advantage of the fact that they topped off under that other caution.
Yeah, I'm not certain in the case of Despirito if he topped off. Now, I think he might have, because our telemetry is showing that he's made 3 pit stops. He made 1 under the first caution. I believe he was one of the band of drivers that didn't come to pit road under the second yellow. So potentially the 3 pit stops we're seeing here was 1 under the first caution and 2 under the third caution, including a top off. So yeah, he might be the front runner of the drivers that would have been borderline able to make it, and maybe now with this caution period will be able to make it to the conclusion. Mentioned about the season that Joe Despirito has had already. He has finished in the top 5 in all 5 of the first 4 races here. He's got 2 runner-up finishes, been a bridesmaid twice, never a bride, looking to get that victory here tonight, but just looking to continue what's been an incredible streak here to start out the regular season.
And I'm sorry, did you say all 5 of these first 4 races?
All 5.
Of these first 4 races?
Of the first 5 races.
You said 4.
Oh.
Sorry. I had to call you out for that one.
Freudian slip.
Hey, I have those like at least 50 times a day, so it's fine. Oh boy. Now here's a question for you, Seth. You've got the heavy hitters of like Schilling, McClure. Oh geez, yeah. Who else is back here? There's Jessica Shelton. There's Mark Paglia. Oh boy, yeah. You got Josh Metallic. You got some heavy hitters deep in the field now. There's John Godfrey as well. Boy, how aggressive are they going to be getting up through this field?
Third lane. You're going to see him in the third lane. Chuck McClure has been a huge advocate of the third lane, both here at BSR and at Talladega this season. And in previous seasons, it was always Brian Schilling. You always saw the then number 4 Square D Dodge Ram up on that extreme outside line trying to get something going. I think those two are going to have the same agenda here. They're going to try to get to the front as quickly as they can and go where they ain't. Go up to that top side. See if we can make something happen. We've seen that third line work so far here this evening.
And we know how well Schilling and McClure work together. They always find each other in these races, and looks like they're going to find each other again. And we'll see how much headway they can make. It's just going to be a matter of how many guys go with them.
So a couple of updates here. Looks like Jim Black and Robbie Nisus are going to be getting the lucky dogs. This will put Jim Black back on the lead lap, Robbie Nisus to 1 lap down. I believe that when Craig Hagley had his internet problems, he actually got a lucky dog at one point. Or no, he took a wave around at one point, and they added back the other laps that he was down due to the connection problem. Normally when you fall out of a server, they get you to all but 1 lap back, and he got that 1 lap back via the wave around under the previous yellow. So Doug Hulick is back on the lead lap. We'll restart back in the 32nd position. 37 drivers all still running and 36 of them on the lead lap. So there's still a lot up for grabs here with about 10 laps to go when we come back around.
And I just got a very interesting bit of information here. According to according to what I'm hearing, these guys that did not just top off still aren't good.
Oh.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you wonder why they didn't pit then.
I mean, if you clutch the heck out of it right now and you half throttle it for a few laps, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's like one driver saying that or pretty much all these guys. But whatever the case may be, it's still really marginal.
So Brian Schilling, who was the first one to pit lane under this caution, is going to restart back in the 17th position. Big question marks on the 16 drivers ahead of him as to who could make it and who will not. Maybe the strategy call here for the 24, the 22, some of these guys up at the front, Rodney Sullins, Kelly Causey, is they're banking on another yellow flag coming out to be able to allow them a couple more laps to be able to save fuel. But if it doesn't, oh boy, this is going to be a very interesting final run to the checker. It's going to be 11 laps to go when Joe Despirito brings us back down here through the tri-oval to the start-finish line. Greg Palmer in second, looking for his second win on the season. Rodney Sullins, Kelly Causey, and Milt Surratt going to be the top 5 as we are getting ready to go back under the green here. Both lanes, pretty even jump. Half car length advantage, though, for Joe DeSpirito heading into turn 1.
So now he can dictate which lane he wants to go to. Rodney Sullins might even get clear here. What are they going to do as far as which lane they go to? I have to imagine they're going to keep it on the inside because that's where you're going to save your fuel. And what were you saying about
Look at that
Schilling?
third lane. I tell you what.
Right up he goes.
Gets
And
to
right
a
up
point
goes
where you
Milt
know
Surratt
the
as
driver's
well.
tendencies.
Going to bring it back down there. I think you already gained a few spots there. And I know that he's not done yet. Milt Surratt now jumping to the outside, going to lead the middle lane. Coming to 10 laps to go. A lot of unanswered questions here for about the top 15. Oh boy, Seth, doesn't it always come down to a nail biter like this?
Definitely does. How about Milt Surratt in that Tide ride? He's made a limited number of starts this season. I think he's missed 2 of the races so far here at the beginning of the year, including last week. But looking really sporty right now, heading that middle lane, clear of Joe DeSpirito, but staying committed to Greg Palmer and Kelly Causey. Not jumping down in front of that 24. Maybe he might here into turn 3 because the 24 is going to get a run into the corner. Nope, he'll stay leading that middle line. And here comes lane number 3, Schilling, along with McClure, Josh Metallic, and Ron Hagelin.
Some powerhouses.
Oh, God!
How did they save that?
Man! Greg Palmer, I don't think by choice, went up to the third lane.
Well, then now that's going to check them up here because I'm sure that he had to lift a little bit. I can't believe they saved that.
I can't either. In the trial of all places. Little bumper grab coming into play, but Surratt kept it underneath him. It shot the 22 up to the third lane, which may work out to his favor because now he's going to make it 3 wide for the lead. DeSpirito, Surratt, and Palmer going into 3.
Here comes that outside lane. Going to make some headway. And they are now 3 wide for second. DeSpirito free to go wherever he wants. But I'm sure he's going to stay committed to that inside lane as long as he humanly can.
And here it comes back to that point you and I were talking about earlier, the comfort level of the willingness to push with these Aero 88 cars. Some drivers have told us they're already at the comfort level. They don't mind pushing the car in front of them. They feel confident that they can keep the momentum going and not have the dreaded bumper grab come into play. But other drivers still a little tentative, and that might determine which lane moves forward here.
I got to imagine that guys like Schilling and McClure are probably comfortable with it at this point. Looks like so is Sullins, and there's Ken Roberts up here into third place in the 55. No surprise seeing him back up here. And I believe that's Grant Wesley behind him. Inside lane prevailing once again.
I feel like Ken Roberts and Grant Wesley listened back to last week's broadcast, hearing my personal gripe of their similar colored cars confusing me. They're nose to tail again. They're third and fourth.
I mean, is it as bad as the 28 and 82?
No, not as bad, but it still plays tricks with my eyes.
Okay, I'm going to keep coming back to that.
How about JT Mayhew? Started dead last in this race. Almost picked up the victory last week on fuel strategy. Oh, he's in the 5th position as Bob Dixon catches air, and we've got a big wreck on the back straightaway.
Going to race it back. This is not the point of no return. I think
Correct.
we will be going back green.
So this is basically a race to see who's going to potentially determine the final restart of the night. Top 4 single file here off of turn 4. Ken Roberts tried to make a move. Nobody went with him. He's going to drop all the way outside of the top 5 here, as Joe DeSpirito will lead them down to the yellow. Oh, and they're going to... Ooh, I thought they were going to wreck. Palmer got the wall, made a little contact with Brian Schilling, but they kept it pointed straight. It'll be DeSpirito, Sullins, and then I believe Wesley, Mayhew, and Martin, the top 5. And was this the saving grace caution that now has everybody that was super close on fuel able to make it to the conclusion now?
That'll be a good question. I'll see if maybe I can try to get some info on that here in just a little bit. Let me see what caused the crash here.
Bob Dixon catching some air there, back into the car going up. Billy Elliser was involved. A couple of other drivers also got collected up in this one, including Jim Black. Larry D might have gotten a piece. We'll take a look at it here off of turn 2. Were they 4 wide for a moment there?
Ooh, that's a good question. I know I see it's like the 10 kind of pushing up there a little bit.
Yeah, like the
I
10 pushed up
don't
into
think
the
he did it on
31. I
purpose.
couldn't tell if they were 4 wide or just 3.
He definitely didn't do it on purpose, but yeah, they were kind of 4 wide there for a little bit, and yeah, just kind of came up and yeah, there's that inside push that catches everyone out at some point or another, and got him there. Now we do have one car lap down. That's Robbie Nisus. So they will get the extra lap. So what's that going to mean as far as how much these guys can clutch, and how many laps of green are we going to get here? We're going to get at least 1, if not 2.
Yeah, I think we're looking at a in regulation green-white checkered potentially here, which really there is a huge difference between what can happen with 2 laps and what can happen with 1 lap. We've seen 1-lap shootouts here before, and usually it takes at least 3/4 of a lap for the cars to get up to full song, let alone have the momentum to be able to make a move for the race win. If you give them 2 laps, there's a lot of options available for drivers up there at the front to maybe be able to snipe the checkered flag. Also a little curious, oh man, I don't know if our camera caught that on the bottom of the screen. Billy Elliser backed it into the inside wall. Robbie Nisus, he got a little piece of the wreck, but he never actually spun, I don't think. I wonder if he is going to get the lucky dog, and if he does, that's going to be every single driver that took the green flag here tonight that are going to be on the lead lap at the conclusion of this one.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, yeah, it hasn't been nearly last week. Like we're at like maybe 5 cautions. I want to say.
But last week, only 1 caution last week.
Oh, I mean tonight rather.
Oh,
Sorry.
tonight? Yeah, this is the 5th caution.
And yeah, at least a good half the field has been to some extent or another involved in a spin.
Yep.
Or clipping the wall or something. But no one, like, not only is it that everyone's running, but everyone's up to speed. At least as far as we can tell. Obviously, we'll see after that crash.
That hit right there for Billy Elliser, folks, is maybe the hardest hit we've seen tonight. And that was just a simple back into the wall, and that's not going to affect him speed-wise at all.
Yeah, exactly. Based on what I also just heard, this was probably the money caution that these guys needed to make it. They should be A-okay now.
So that was the play they were going for, hoping for another yellow flag to be able to make it the rest of the way. They got it. And now the pressure is on drivers like Brian Schilling and Chuck McClure, who gave up the track position to come to pit road for the security. We saw them moving up to that 3rd line, trying to make up ground. The furthest they got, Schilling in 13th and Chuck McClure in 15th. It's a pretty big ask to pass 13 cars in what will more than likely be 2 laps. And if it's 1 lap, then you got to hope that they all wreck and that you get through probably to be able to pick up this victory. But that's the strategy game when it comes to super speedway racing. Usually there's always going to be someone that does something entirely different than you, and you just got to hope that the cards fall your way.
Strategy is always really big wild card. And yeah, sometimes it works out for you if you go aggressive. Sometimes it doesn't. But I know what I'm looking at here. We got some hungry drivers up here at the front here. The guy that had to drop back because he was lagging, Bob Seminara, is back up here in P6. You got JT Mayhew looking for a win. Demar's back up here. This is going to be pretty interesting.
Rodney Summers was a 3-time winner last year. 2 of his wins right here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. He loves this racetrack. He'd love to be able to get another checkered flag here for his first of the season. And Grant Wesley, who we thought wasn't going to be in the field here tonight, he's looking for 2 in a row.
Got a great opportunity of it, too, being the second car in the inside lane. We'll see here.
There you see the 54 of Robbie Nisus, top right of your screen. He's coming around here to get alongside the pace car. He will get the free pass. This might be the first race this season where we'll have all drivers participating in the race finish on the lead lap, as this will put Robbie Nisus back on the tail end of the lead lap. All 37 cars will be on the lead lap here for the conclusion. It looks like we probably will get the lights out on the pace car this time by, so we will have a green-white checkered. We'll give the usual disclaimer right here and now. If a caution comes out prior to us taking the white flag, we're going to stay here with the front. We're going to watch the race back to the caution, and then we'll look back and we'll take a look at the subsequent wreck that ended the race under yellow, either during the pacing lap or post-race. If they get back to the white flag, we're staying up here at the front no matter what, because then we know that the finish is official. Joe DeSpirito, Rodney Sullins, Grant Wesley, JT Mayhew, and Richard Martin. That is your top 5. Pole sitter Bob Seminara, who's led a race-high 24 laps tonight, lines up 6th. Jeremy Jeffries in 7th. 8th place is going to be Ken Roberts. 9th, Donnie Garrett. And Greg Palmer is going to complete the top 10. We've gone 5 for 5 in different drivers going to victory lane the first 5 races of the season. Will we go 6 for 6? We're going to find out in a little more than 5 miles.
Ooh, this is going to be good. I'm just hoping that we make it to the white, and we've got a race. I think anyone here in this top 6 with a great shot at it's going to be a little bit of an ask if you're behind that. But, yeah, just flat out, show them what you got. That's all you can do now. Best pushers are going to come forward here. But yeah, with the slightly different pushing model, is that going to create some havoc? Greenway checkered Seth. What else can you say? It's going to be something to behold.
With only 2 races after tonight left in the regular season, a checkered flag this evening could lock you into the playoffs. That's on the line for these drivers here this evening. For others, they're looking to maybe point their way up into the top 12. They may kind of look big picture racing, not put themselves in harm's way in trying to make a move for the win. We'll have to wait and see how it goes down, as the pace car will for one final time be hitting pit lane and turn it over to the points leader, Joe DeSpirito. 5 straight top 5 finishes to start out the year, but still a 0 in the win column, looking to hold off Rodney Sullins, who had 2 victories at this very racetrack 1 season ago. Can they make it back to the white flag to make this finish official? Flagman has the green flag in hand, and it is waving. In regulation, green-white checker to finish it out tonight at BSR.
One gets away clean here. No surprise there, seeing the 24 with the shorter way around, going to clear. Now where does he go? That outside lane looks a little more formed. We're going to jump up. Going to block Grant. Back to the inside. Oh, below the yellow line. Can't do that.
That was sketchy in the fact that if he came back up, there could have been some bumper grab that came into play, but Wesley tucks back in line. Now kind of boxed in with Rodney Sullins to his outside. Sullins hoping for a heck of a push from a fellow silver Chevrolet, and JT Mayhew here through the tri-oval. Can they get back here to the white flag? A lot of moving in the mid-pack area. Looks like they're going to make it. Race is official. Sullins led that lap.
And he's got a great push with JT. But you got Grant on the inside pushing DeSpirito. This is going to be a drag race for this
And look
lap.
at the third lane.
Look at Palmer.
Palmer with a huge run with Milt Surratt on the back straightaway.
They're going to have to block him. They're going to have to block that outside. And
big run. Here's Sullins. He sees it coming. He's going to take the push from Greg Palmer. Now it's going to be Sullins way up top. DeSpirito on the bottom.
Ooh, is he thinking about coming back down? Oh, man, that's going to
open the door for DeSpirito. I think he's lost his push. Now he comes back up. Martin's going to shoot to the middle. But DeSpirito, I think, is clear of all 3 lanes. I don't think they can generate enough of a run. They're 3 wide stacked behind him, and Joe DeSpirito is going to win as they were 4 wide, almost 5 wide, crossing the line mid-pack.
Yeah, Wesley just got boxed there and was like, all right, well, I'm just going to have to push. And DeSpirito just kept it to the inside. And a great move. But a great move by Sullins trying to make that work. He had to. You saw the run that Palmer had. but still going to end up with a 4th place finish. But God, yeah, like you said, that is going to be a heck of a picture there at the stripe with how
Indeed.
spread out they were.
That almost kind of reminded me a bit of, what was it, Talladega 2012, where they were stacked up 4 wide, 2, 3 rows deep. Pretty sure that's what they were coming across the start finish line, and maybe it was an optical illusion, but I think they were 5 wide at some portion of the field there. But how about Joe DeSpirito? The streak continues. 6 straight top 5 finishes, but this time he gets to park it in victory lane. He will continue to extend his points lead heading into the final 2 regulation races of the season. This, I think, all but solidifies him a spot in the playoffs for sure, and he's got to be eyeing that valuable 15 bonus points for the regular season championship as well.
Oh, no doubt. And yeah, that's it's going to give him the confidence to probably give him a better chance at a championship that he came oh so close to last season. I'm just looking through the field here now. Yeah, no 5 wide, but golly, were they just all spread all over the place. And unlike that Talladega race that you were talking about, they kept it
They
clean.
did. They made it.
They didn't even wreck at the line or anything. It was just clean and keeping at it the whole way there. Jimmy Jeffries steals 3rd there. Nicely done. But holy crap, that was an awesome finish.
Unbelievable race. All 37 cars made it to the conclusion and on the lead lap. How about that after we worked 5 cautions here this evening? Light contact in most of those wrecks, allowing the drivers to all be able to stay in it and be able to reach the conclusion as, what do we call this? The Polish victory burnout? A backwards burnout? I don't think I've seen that one before.
Well, if I can get back to the right person, that'd be nice.
We'll be talking with Joe DeSpirito, Grant Wesley, and Jeremy Jeffries, our podium finishers, here this evening in just a few moments as we take a look at the finishing results. Rodney Sullins gave it a heck of a try there. I think the problem for Rodney was he kind of lost touch with Greg going into 3, and JT was too far back to help him in that middle line. He'll have to settle for 4th, but a good points day for him. The consistency out of the defending champ continues. DeMar brings it home in 5th, Greg Palmer in 6th, JT Mayhew another solid top 10 in 7th, Ken Roberts, Milt Surratt, and Bob Seminara going to bring it home inside of the top 10. Good comeback there for him after leading the most laps tonight. Had the connection problems while running up inside the top 5 and had to fade to the back. Kelly Causey going to bring it home in 11th. Donnie Garrett was 12th. Bobby Farrell 13th. Josh Metallic was involved in the first 2 cautions of the night, and he brings it home in 14th. And Brian Schilling will finish in the 15th position. Chuck McClure, Wiley Coate, Dante Ricky, Jessica Shelton, and Mark Paglia. They're going to be the top 20 as you see on down through the full 37 car field. Only 2 seconds separated all 37 cars that finished on the lead lap here tonight. And that's going to make things, I think, even more interesting as far as who moves up, who falls down in the point standings, in the fact that nobody was really able in the closing stage to take advantage of another driver's misfortune because nobody was a lap down, nobody was out of the race.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, 2 seconds separate the whole field. Everyone who started the race finishes and on the lead lap. I mean, again, that's really telling of the talent involved, and probably even the mod, you could argue.
Yeah.
But that's fantastic to see. You almost never see that. But big congrats, of course, to Joe, as we'll be getting that word with him then. And of course, shout out to Jessica for also kind of acting as some information there to try to keep posted on where everything was in the race, especially when fuel situation was looking pretty tight there. So you had a little bit of everything there. You had some craziness. You had some green flag pit stops. You had some fuel strategy. That race had just about everything that you could want.
Well, let's see if we can dial up our podium finishers here tonight. Last week, it was a runner-up finish that got Jeremy Jeffries up into the top 12 in points. And another podium finish here tonight will keep him there. Let's see if we can dial up the driver of the Valvoline Chevrolet.
User was moved.
Hey, Jeremy,
to your
Andrew, and
channel.
Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I do. How you guys doing?
Well, we always know that we're always in for a treat. We don't know what kind of a finish we're going to get when it comes to the Tally Challenge, but here tonight, we got set up with a green-white checkered, 3 wide, 4 wide across the line, crazy racing up at the front for this victory. You were right there in the conversation. You've been on a good momentum streak the last couple of weeks. Anything you could have done to be able to pick up this victory, or were you kind of boxed in there and just basically a pusher trying to maintain a good finishing position?
I was boxed in. I actually overachieved what I expected there. I had some guys move out of my way, go to third lane, go to second lane. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I got a chance at top three here, and just barely got Rodney at the line.
We ended up seeing here tonight all 37 drivers finish on the lead lap. We ended up running 5 cautions, but the fact that everybody was able to be there running in the conclusion, how crazy did that make it in terms of fuel strategy? Because we ended up seeing about half the field, I believe it was the third caution of the evening, might have been the fourth caution. Half the field came to pit road, gave up the track position, but others seemed to rely on that there might be another yellow and they'd be able to make it on fuel. It looked like you fit into the second half of that category. If you guys hadn't had that final yellow flag there, what was it looking like in your reaching the checkered flag?
We would not have. Actually, those last two cautions put those guys over the edge. So yeah, we were not going to make it. I don't know if the guys who pitted could have made it. It would have been a lot closer for them. But yeah, it worked out, I guess, because I was kind of split on whether I wanted to pit or not. And I was like, well, if I go back here, I might get caught in a wreck. But if I stay up front, I might run out of gas. So I don't know. It's just sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Well, Jeremy, a great run for you here this evening. Last week put you up into a playoff position. Here tonight, another solid outing keeps you there. We keep seeing this number one creeping up there in the closing stages these last few weeks. Kind of get the feeling that we might see the one in P1 at some point here. 2 regular season races left to go. Best of luck here down this final home stretch towards the playoffs. Congratulations on the performance tonight. And before we let you go, we'll give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Congrats to Joe, as if he wasn't kicking our butt enough in the points. Let's add a win to it. He's been on fire. It's amazing what he's accomplished, and yeah, that's impressive. Uh, Thanks to Grant there at the end. He kind of gave me a little room on the bottom where I could make up that extra position, didn't have to check up. So that was a nice early birthday present since my birthday is tomorrow. Um, Thank you to you all for putting the broadcast on, to Bones and Prime for keeping this league going, and everybody that donates to keep it going. I mean, got to have the money to pay for the servers, the website, TeamSpeak, all that good stuff. Speaking of servers, thank you to Raycell and their ROM Arena. Allows us to come in here quick, easy every night, get the car files, update the points. It's amazing what they do, and glad they're sponsoring us. Shex 260 Motorsports, we'll throw him in there too. My XFM teammates, family, friends, everybody watching, thank you.
Jeremy Jeffries, he's your third place finisher here tonight under the lights at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. We know we got this off week coming up next week, so enjoy the little bit of vacation, then right back to in 2 weeks' time at Talladega.
Thank you. I'm not sure I want to lose this momentum, but I'll enjoy the week off.
Jeremy Jeffries bringing it home on the podium in the third position, his second straight finish in the top 3. Same can be said for the driver we're getting ready to dial up. We talked to him in victory lane last week. He brings it home runner-up here tonight. Let's dial up Grant Wesley. Grant, Andrew, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, we heard last week we weren't expecting in the field here tonight. We get you here this evening. You'll almost pull off a double here in back-to-back weeks. And I want to go back to that final restart because I kind of wondered if you were going to hang back, try and get that run through 1 and 2 and make a move on the back straightaway. And it kind of looked like that was what you were looking at. Was that the only shot you had at this, or could you have generated something else?
Yeah, so first off, yeah, that's with my work, I'm just rolling with the punches now. So I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I was able to be here. That last restart, yeah, that was definitely the plan. I was hoping to get a better start, to be honest. Whenever the green dropped, I hit Joe and it just stalled my run. It was weird, and it shot him out there, and I thought that was gonna sort of secure me to being stuck on the bottom at that point. Um, but yeah, then as I came off turn two, I was able to clear the 38, and then I knew what my card was, is to basically go where the 24 wasn't. So I moved high in front of the 38. I knew I had good help on the bottom lane with the 43 and the 1 and the 55. So that's where I really wanted to be. I wanted to be down there not only to help them, but like I said, I'd get a good push from those guys. And so yeah, basically I was gonna just get Joe to come up, and I was gonna get back under him, but I just didn't make the move fast enough. I seen he was coming back down. I wasn't gonna fight him that hard for it. We were gonna get a podium the way it was, and it's like I told you last week. I'm kind of deep in the points, and I need to knock off some top threes. I got the win in the bank, so yeah, it's a good finish.
Yeah, last week the victory puts you into the playoffs via a win. You were 14th in points coming to this one. Tonight's podium finish moves you up into the top 10. So now you're in via points with 2 races remaining. Obviously, a multi-time champion in this series. You know what it's like with the alternating between these 2 racetracks. This racetrack in particular looks like it's where all the emphasis is going to be during the course of this season. It's where the eliminator races are going to be. It's going to be where the championships decided. But maybe more importantly, in 2 weeks' time, we're coming back here with the regular season championship on the line. When we have this alternating between Talladega and Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, do you look at that one track where a lot of the stuff's going to go down in regards to the championship, and maybe put a little bit more emphasis on taking notes during the course of the season, like here tonight?
Yeah, that's definitely something a driver could do. Myself, I just feel like the tracks they're similar enough that I really don't think too much about all that. Um, yeah, I mean they're pretty much the same. I mean they're pretty close.
We saw here tonight as well 5 cautions, but all 37 drivers finish on the lead lap. We saw a cycle of green flag pit stops. Last week, only 1 caution and 2 rounds of green flag pit stops. So it looks like we're definitely trending more down this home stretch towards the execution on pit road being prevalent. Is that a mindset you have for these upcoming final 2 races, or do you think as we start getting closer to the regular season, it may be a lot more about positioning on the racetrack than it is about execution on pit road?
Oh, I definitely think we got some pit stops coming our way. Uh, I know we've seen, I think one tonight. I can't quite remember, but yeah, I'm definitely counting on some green flag pit stops, and um, that's definitely where I can make some spots up. So yeah, hope it kind of trends that way for sure.
Well, Grant, back-to-back top 2 finishes for you, let alone podium finishes here in the last 2 weeks. The victory last week, second place here tonight, bagging some good points, as well as that victory to lock you into the current playoff scenario. Congratulations on the great run here tonight. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Yeah, congratulations to Joe on the win, and he's having an awesome season. So I wish him the best of luck on the remainder here. I'd like to thank the owners here, David Cannon, Sean Prime, the admins here on Thursday, as always, Josh, Wiley, and Tim, FRN. I'd like to thank you guys, Seth, and hey, Andrew, pretty cool to see you in the booth. I always enjoy your commentary, so looking forward to watching this one back. Like to thank RLM Arenas. I believe they are the official sponsor currently, along with previous sponsors we've had, Jason Sheck and 260 Motorsports, and Donnie Garrett and Ultimate Garage Floors. I just appreciate all the support we've been getting from those guys. It means a lot. I'd like to thank my teammates with XFM, my friends and family for watching, and my girlfriend Brittany.
Grant Wesley, second place here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. He'll look to continue on this good momentum in 2 weeks' time when we head back to the high banks of Talladega. Enjoy the off week next week, Grant, and best of luck here down the continuation of this home stretch to the playoffs.
Yep, thanks.
And let's see if we can go down to victory lane. Finally breaks through with the victory after an incredible start to the season. Let's dial up our 6th different winner of the season, Joe DeSpirito. Joe, Andrew, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Hey guys, I got you. How are you?
This is a super speedway series, right? Because these numbers to start out the first 6 races are unbelievable. Third, second, fourth, second, fifth, first. Consistency is key when it comes to super speedway racing, but I think that this needs an entirely different word to describe it. Dominance, I guess, would be the word. You finally break into victory lane, get that victory tonight. But how in the world are you able to execute what you've been able to do here in these first 6 races of the regular season? I mean, nobody's even close to you in regular season points.
I told you, man, it's 2024.
It's the year of the
Uh,
24 for sure.
I don't know, man. It's just working good. I guess this new mod is something that I've gotten comfortable with quickly. I don't know. I wasn't really a big fan of it at first, but with the way things are going, I'm liking it. I still think the hitboxes are a little sensitive, and we're still getting used to them. But yeah, everything's going good, man. Just getting up there and staying out of trouble. Knock on wood.
Now, we've talked to race winners in the past when they've had to defend a 1 lap shootout, but here tonight it was a green white checker, a little bit more opportunity for drivers to get momentum, be able to make moves. So you're the leader coming down to that final restart. What kind of game plan were you formulating when the green flag dropped?
Just kind of communicating with my guys, letting them tell me if the third lane's coming. I wasn't sure if I was going to stay on the bottom or peek to the middle there, and everything happened so fast. And I peeked, I went up a little bit, and I kind of could tell Grant was trying to go under me, and I kind of beat him to the punch, and he went under the yellow line, and then he just came back behind me without passing me. And once that third lane comes and it's 3 wide, the bottom lane is the preferred lane, and I kind of just rode that out to the end. There was only 2 laps left, so it worked out pretty good.
With this consistency, we've had a little bit of everything when it comes to the racing this season. We've had races where there have been multiple cautions and big wrecks. You've been able to either be ahead or in the right place to avoid them. We've had in the last couple of races execution with green flag pit stops, and of course the late race restart here tonight. Last week ending with a fuel strategy race, and you consistently have been able to finish up inside the top 5. So with 2 races remaining here in the regular season, do you have a pre-race game plan going in preparation for what type of race you expect it to be, or is it a constant play by ear adjusting the strategy as you go?
Well, with this points lead the way it is, I'm trying to be more aggressive and get more bonus points with wins. So um, I don't normally like to go into that third lane, but maybe I'll start taking more chances and going up there if I have to. Knowing I got nothing to lose as far as the points lead goes. So a little bit more aggressive. I'm still playing the bracket series too. So peeking at that too. But yeah, just trying to rack up the bonus points. That's all right now.
Well, you say it's the year of the 24, and we're definitely seeing that here at the start of this season. Currently up by 66 points over your nearest competitor. 6 straight top 5 finishes, and finally breaking into victory lane here in season 61. Joe, congratulations on what has been an incredible regular season for you so far. Before we let you get back to your celebrating, though, we're going to hand the microphone over to you for victory lane thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
I want to thank RTG, Bones, Sean Prime. I want to thank Josh for running Thursday nights. I want to thank you guys at FRN, Seth, Andrew. I want to thank Jason Sheck and 260 Motorsports and Race LM for sponsoring us for this season. I want to thank my team, Mobs Motors, and my sponsors at Old City Fly Shop, oldcityflyshop.com, Able Reels, and as always, I want to thank my dad, my uncle Travis, and Paul at Stewart Haas, LC and Dan, and all my work buddies for watching at home. Thanks, guys.
Joe DeSpirito in that flashy number 24. He's in victory lane here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. First win on the season and extends his points lead heading into race number 7. Enjoy the off week coming up here, Joe, and we look forward to seeing if this streak can continue in these final 2 regular season races.
Yow! Good night, guys.
Joe
Good win, Phil
DeSpirito
Trickle.
with the victory here tonight. 6th different winner on the season, and I look at the point standings here. I look at his stats, and it doesn't look like something you would see in the Super Speedway Series, Andrew. 4 drivers are tied for second place But they're all 66 points behind Joe DeSpirito. This is a runaway right now for the regular season championship.
Yeah, that's nuts. I mean, JT Mayhew actually misses me about that, saying that, yep, him, Rodney Solons, Mark Paglia, and Josh Metallic are all tied for second. But yeah, 66 back. But I mean, it's a guy that has finished, as you said, in the top five every single race so far this season. And of all those, only one of those was not a top three.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, Joe, if he can keep that momentum going, oh man, is that going to be big? But of course, yeah, he's got to keep that going into the playoffs once that hits. And then, of course, yeah, I hope that his internet holds together as well. But yeah, a great showing by him. He kept it to the inside once he made that block. That inside lane was definitely the place to be pretty much most of the race. We could see the middle lane and the outside lane get up there and lead, but it never quite got ahead of the inside lane, maybe once or twice. But the inside lane was definitely the place to be. And I think that, yeah, it definitely is more dominant at this particular version as compared to the Talladega Day version. So once they go back to that version, it's going to be a little more interesting to see how the outside lane is going to play into it. It seems like with this mod, especially, that inside lane was doing the job. But anyways, enough on that stuff. Good win to Joe DeSpirito. Again, Seth, thank you for having me for this one yet again. Always a pleasure. And yeah, I also got to send, of course, my shout out to RTG and Race LM for keeping this thing going. Seriously, we respect you guys a ton, and thank you for what you do. And Seth, thank you for what you do, and Joe Toriansky as well for getting the word out to the people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's going to be interesting here as well. The fact that this racetrack, as I mentioned, is where pretty much everything's going to be happening this season. In 3 weeks' time, when we come back here for the 8th race, the final regular season race, we're determining the playoffs. And then, of course, it's the elimination races for each round of the playoffs. And it's where the championship is going to be decided at the end of the season. As of right now, your top 12 in the point standings house 4 of your previous race winners, including Joe DeSpirito with his victory here tonight. Your other 2 previous race winners are going to be outside of the top 20 in points heading into next week. Tim Nofsker drops down with his non-start here tonight to 28th, and Dante Ricky is currently in, I believe, the 30th position in points. So there's 2 previous race winners right there that are not eligible for the playoffs. So as of right now, it's coming down to points, and you got to wonder how many drivers that might be maybe not necessarily in a must-win scenario, but in a must-point-in scenario, when we come back here, might have done a little bit of experimenting here in the closing stages of this race and might apply that when we come back here with playoff spots on the line. But yes, next week we are off. NASCAR itself has the duels next Thursday night, so RTG officials calling the off week. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. That will be on the 22nd of February for Talladega Super Speedway, and then the following week we'll be back here to BSR for the regular season finale. But Andrew, great having you up here in the booth. Appreciate you filling in here tonight. Wild race here under the lights at BSR. Crazy finish with that green-white checkered, and man, I'll tell you what, with what I'm seeing here tonight, I can't wait for that finale, that regular season finale coming up as well with playoff spots.
Oh geez, I mean, we saw it last year, just how crazy it was. And now with this mod, I think throwing a big wild card into it, as we were talking about through the race, it seems to be just different enough that it's really foreign territory for these guys. And so, I mean, sure, they're getting a feel for it now. They're feeling a lot better about it. They know what it's capable of, but it's still not what they're used to. I'm sure that the same thing probably happened for a season or two when they initially switched from Men Cup 19 to NCTS 09. But this one, yeah, as Joe said, the hitbox is a little bit different. As you feel like you're getting even closer to the car in front of you, that feeling of it being a little bit faster, the runs that you get, I think it's gonna make for a very intense season finale. But of course, yeah, as we were saying, with how the tracks drive with this version compared to the Talladega version, I'm sure they're taking note of that. I'm sure they're taking note of who is feeling most comfortable with pushing, and knowing where to put themselves at what time. So a little bit of course, yeah, trying to get the points to make it to the postseason, but also once you do make it to the postseason, having those notes in your head to know what to expect.
Well, 6 different drivers have found victory lane here in the first 6 races. Will we make it 7 in 2 weeks' time? We hope you join us to find out. Want to give a shout out as well to our broadcast colleague Michael Norman. He was under the weather here tonight. Hope that he starts feeling better. For Andrew Miller, I'm Seth Cole. Thank you all for joining us here this evening for our coverage of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks for the continuation of this regular season, heading towards the playoffs, as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.